while the books are being handed out, I might just get everyone to stand up because you need to stretch, and I want to... Okay, I'm going to let you sit down in a minute, but I'm just going to get everyone to stand up if you can. So if you have checked the weather forecast in the last day, you can sit down. And everyone has, okay. I was going to give you a week and a month, but what I want to make is there that weather forecasts are very integral to our lives, and this project, High Impact Weather, is part of the World Weather Research Program of the World Meteorological Organization, WMO. And what I want to do now is outline this program that has just begun in the last year or so, and outline a number of its aims and objectives, and also how you can participate. If I can get it to change. Okay, so despite advances in our technology, our understanding of the physical systems, we're still seeing many communities impacted in adverse ways by weather. But we also note that the weather forecasts have brought about changes in the lives of many people. And the High Impact Weather Program really is trying to understand how we can, as a community, so this is WMO, so it represents the 193 member states, how we can get our meteorological services and our partners to deliver more effective weather warnings. So this program is for 10 years, started a year and a half ago, and it's really to achieve a number of aims. One of them is to improve international collaboration around this. And it's pretty much what we are as a community in the broader DRR world attempting. So how can we bring our knowledge together collaboratively on an international scale? But what is important is that we make sure that this gets to the communities at risk, the people who are affected by extreme weather events. And we want to explore how to do that and work to improve the outcomes of our forecasts. This is in part with the enhancement of our meteorological systems involving the Met Offices of the world, but it's really an understanding and acknowledgement, as we have over the last decade, that any of these systems are part of a wider ecosystem with people and communities and households at the center of that. And we also want to better understand the value proposition of enhancing our investment in better warnings, because like all expenditure, there are other things you can do, and we have to make the case for why it makes a difference. The High Weather Project has initiated through a number of task groups and programs, and already within the first 2 years we have a number of activities in many countries, and we're looking really to enhance this. So this talk, this outline of the program is also an invitation to you all, both at your individual level, at your, whether you are in policy, practice or research, but also to link with your countries as well, because the WMO is representing the member states, therefore there is a national contact to high weather in every country. So we would invite you to be part of that. One of the key things that we are attempting to do is really integrate our part of the DRR jigsaw into the wider landscape. So integrating, and sorry for the UN ISDR, now the UN DRR, the Integrated Research on Disaster Risk Program, the International Council's Future Earth Program, and the World Climate Research Program. So although we're interested in weather and weather forecasts, we need to nest any activities, any advancements in improved forecasts in a much wider ecosystem of efforts to reduce the impacts of disasters on communities and enhance the well-being of communities. And really understanding that providing a weather forecast, it really needs to be integrated into this much wider portfolio of efforts that lead to the outcomes that we're looking for. So why are warnings important? These are some of the questions that we're looking at through the research program. And really one of the ways to frame our research is to look at what we call the warning chain. And what does that look like? Looking at the various parts that make up effective warnings. And I will sort of give an overview of those elements shortly, but really strengthening and understanding the value of all of those parts of the chain. So in designing a weather warning chain, we want to look at a number of steps, and obviously we need to understand who is at risk and what are they at risk from, and then we need to look at ways to mitigate those risks. So one of the key things with warnings, if you want people to take actions, is often trying to reduce the need to take actions in the first place. So if possible, you don't need to warn a community from a floodplain if there's no one living there. But we know that's not always possible, so we're always dealing with the residual risk of previous decisions or choices we make in order to, when people are at harm's way from weather events. So we do need to co-design, and that's a key element of all of the Sendai framework, is working with partners, not just as a knowledge transfer, but working in partnership with all parts of it. We also need to understand and what is feasible in terms of warning. There are some events that we simply don't have the knowledge or technology to warn in the time frames that people want, but also things are improving and will change over time. And once again, you can have the best system in the world, but if it's not implemented in a way that's effective to the people down the end, the last mile as we call it, and from the workshop we had on Monday is now being called the first mile, it's not going to work. So one of the ways we are exploring this is looking at what we call the 5 valleys of death, the parts of the elements that really make up an effective warning system. So clearly from the meteorological world, we understand that we need to observe weather phenomena, we need to understand what they are, and we need to be able to anticipate what those systems, those weather events are doing at many scales, whether it be at a global model or down to a local scale. And that knowledge then feeds into the weather forecast itself, and that bridge between the two is very important. And from a weather forecast, we need to understand what that phenomena, that hazard event is going to do. So that really looks at the sort of from a weather to the hazard, what sorts of weather phenomena are going to impact. So there is a need to understand the environmental impacts, hydrology and other surface processes. And then that moves into an impact. What does this phenomena that we're predicting is going to happen? So we need to move just beyond just the physical sciences into understanding the social and economic context to which populations are exposed and the people who are vulnerable to elements of that. And from that, we move into issuing the warnings, the process of alerting people or organisations that something bad is coming. And there's much to be learnt from working with communication sciences and other disciplines to understand what people do, and that leads to the last part. A warning is only as effective as the decisions the person or group make when they receive it. So you can have the most advanced technology giving the most timely warning to an exposed group, but for whatever reason they don't understand it or they're not able to respond, the warning is therefore not effective. So the value of the warning system really is as strong as the weakest part of that chain. So we have to look very carefully about the investment, both in terms of finances, but also in terms of capacity and capability development to make all those elements of a warning system strong. And it really, from a research perspective, and what we've seen much over the last decade or two with other programs, is really highlights the need for interdisciplinary research that brings together the skill sets of the physical scientists, the communicators, behavioural sciences, and also nesting any warning within a wider social context. Many people may receive a warning and choose not to leave, and we might think that's irrational, but there's reasons for it. They may think where they're going is actually more dangerous than staying put. They may have family, they may have animals, pets, livelihoods that they want to protect, so staying is also an option for them. So we really just highlights within the weather world the need for a wide range of disciplines to understand all elements of that. And we can also drive the research and the practice and the policy from the other direction. What do people need to know to make a decision? Therefore, we can work through down the chain the other direction to have the optimal investment in the forecasting systems to meet the needs of the decisions individuals have to make. So this is deliberately so you can't read it, but actually the High Weather Project, if you go to the website, and there is a handout that will be available with the information, we have a number of review papers that synthesize a lot of the work that we've done the last 2 years. So deliberately put it so you couldn't read it there, but do seek these papers out. They're on free-to-air journals, so they're open source, and happy to distribute that information to you. So, in summary, weather-related disasters are a major cause of death and destruction. We have seen the effectiveness of improved warning systems in the lowering of the death toll over the last few decades from a number of weather events, but economic and social losses are still large, and in some places the economic losses are continuing to grow. Early warning systems can help reduce these losses, and I think as time goes on, the ability to improve the technology will exist and is developing rapidly, but we need to make sure the social systems are there as well, and that people are part of the system. And it's really important to understand that in order to have an effective warning value chain, we need to understand all elements of that model and work together to enhance improved weather warnings. And we invite you all to be part of that, whether you are in policy, practice, research, if you're at a local community. We need to understand that warnings are not a linear process. We need to understand them from all parts and work as partners, because they are only as effective as the decision individuals make when they receive a warning. And we need to enhance the capacity and capability to make effective decisions. So thank you very much. I have a minute or two to answer some questions, and there is a handout, which is from over there, about the program, and invite you all to be part of it. Thank you very much.